All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Indiana IEP Resource Center series, Conversation with Authors. My name is Marcy Wilburn, and I'm the project coordinator for the center. We are excited to welcome both Julie Causton and Kate MacLeod, authors of From Behaving to Belonging, the inclusive art of supporting students who challenge us. As always, we'll start with some logistics this morning. Please know that microphones have been muted and webcams are disabled for participants. Throughout the session, we encourage you to post general comments within the chat box. The chat box is available for all participants to view. If you have questions throughout the session, please post them within the Q&A. Questions will be answered throughout this session. In order to access the chat box in the Q&A, click on the toolbar at the bottom of the screen, type your comment and/or question, and click send. Remember, if you want everyone to see what you post in the chat, make sure it says to all panelists and attendees, not just all panelists. Today's session will be captioned. To enable the captions, click on the closed captioning button in the lower toolbar. If you have any technical difficulties today, please contact Mark Suter and I will add his email to the chat box so that you'll have access to that. And at the end of the session, one lucky participant will be selected to receive a copy of Julie and Kate's book. So stay tuned at the end and we'll announce the winner. At this time, I will pass it over to Julie and Kate to start the conversation about this book. Welcome, both of you.
Thanks, Marcy.
Thanks, Marcy.
Hi, everyone. We'd love it if you posted in the chat one thing you're feeling grateful for today. So just take a minute, take a breath, and share one thing that you're really feeling grateful for today. Put it right in the chat.
Anytime Julie and I are co-teaching today, we'll be bouncing back and forth. When one of us asks a question, the other will make sure that we type the question into the chat. So you can always look to the chat if you missed what we said.
That's right. Light rain, warmer weather, good health, teachers who are willing to continue to learn. Yes. My kids, yay, Sarah. Good. What else are you feeling grateful for today? My boys. Excellent. We love it if you chat while we're presenting. So we're just going to start by saying it's not rude. We love it so much. You can put your questions right in there. You can put your comments, your thoughts, etc. And we're going to start presenting. Yeah, Kate. Kate just wrote, I'm feeling grateful for you all. Super grateful that you're all here to learn about any kind of supporting students who have challenging behavior. Let's pause for one more second and ask this question. Why did you come today? So what was the reason you showed up to this webinar today? And we'll just take a minute to look at why you're here. Andrea's always learning, yes.
Us too, Andrea.
Oh, good, Angela.
Yes. We're so excited. We'd love getting this book out in the world to you all.
Marcy says belonging is so important, how to help students feel that sense of belonging.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. So this is a very different book on supporting students with challenging behavior. In fact, it was a school system in Washington State that everybody read the book, and someone wrote to me and said, the number one thing that I learned about yours and Kate's book is that I had to unlearn a lot of what I had learned. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. So refresher, good. All right, Kate, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump right in. Does that sound good?
Let's do it.
Okay. This project for us was a big, is a project of the heart is the best way to describe it. So we'll give our experience only to show you kind of why we're here today. So I was an inclusive special ed teacher. I was a professor at Syracuse University, and that's where I met Kate. Now I'm the CEO of Inclusive Schooling, and as what Inclusive Schooling does, and Kate and I work together to do this work, is we work all over the country and the world to help schools become more inclusive. And we've done a lot of research, most interestingly, maybe on best practices of inclusive education, and teacher happiness has been something we've focused on for a while. And this is my colleague, Kate.
Ooh, and so I also was an inclusive special education teacher. I work primarily at the secondary level. I'm now an assistant professor at the University of Maine up in Farmington. And I work with Julie at Inclusive Schooling as a consultant, really, again, as she said, around the country, around the world, working with teachers to lift them up and help us all remember that what we do comes from the heart and that we can always learn. And I love all these chats around like thinking about belonging and thinking about always learning and refreshing, because that's what Julie and I love to do too. And we love learning from you all as you share your experiences today as you're engaging with us. And research, same thing really that Julie was talking about, some of our research around inclusive reform, thinking about how do schools move into more inclusive education settings that focus on belonging for all students. So
I didn't mean to switch off yours.
Oh, it's okay. She's like, research. Let's get to the fun.
Let's get to it.
Really, we do use all of the research that we've done to present the best practices in this book. And it just so happens that we align ourselves with the heart and with love and compassion. And so we think it's neat that we can talk about evidence-based practices that also align with a heart set.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we really hope that I know Alyssa said she loves the book and she shares and references it all the time. That is so awesome, Alyssa. We hope that everybody can read it and share and really put this energy about supporting students and creating belonging out into the world of education, because we need it. The students need it. We all would really benefit from it. So we hope you enjoy it, then you get it, and that you enjoy our presentation today too.
Okay, here's our opening, and I need everybody to focus on this because I want your ideas in the chat. In the chat, don't tell a story, but just put any behaviors that you find challenging, dangerous, or concerning. So think this year even, what behaviors do you find sort of hard to handle, dangerous, challenging, concerning? And let's just do a chat splash, we call it, so everybody puts fingers to keyboard and shares their ideas.
Yep.
Self-harm, elopement, physical aggression, bullying. Good. Keep them going.
Yep. Physical aggression.
Refusal behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Refusal. Yep. Really common.
Stripping naked, spitting.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's our next question. Look back in the chat. So you're going to have to scroll up. Have you yourself participated in any one of those behaviors this year? So remember, refusal behavior is there. Remember, explosive behavior is there. Remember, elopement, leaving a situation. Just yes or no to my dog, says Angela. Oh my gosh, Angela, you must have a pandemic puppy because I have the worst behavior. 100% for sure, probably. Okay, wow.
Yep, yes. And I'll say yes, I also have participated in some of these behaviors that you've shared.
That's great. And if we had more people on this call, usually we'll get things like swearing, lying, just ignoring all those kinds of things. Yeah. Okay, good. So people said probably yes or 100% or sure.
Yep.
This is the first step in this work, is to remember that all human behavior is normal. Even things like spitting or stripping or things of that nature. And I'm going to talk more about that. All behavior is on the continuum of human behavior. And we all have very challenging behavior at times. Okay? So I want you to think about a time when you've had challenging behavior this year. So think of a time when you refused to do something, or when you left, or when you swore, or when any one of those behaviors you saw up there. And I want to ask an honest question. What did you need at that time? So for me, I'm going to think about a fight I got in with my wife, Ellen, and it was a door slamming fight. Like I'm a door slammer if I'm really mad. And the things that I needed at that time were her to actually see me. That's what I would say. Like, hear me, see me, take the time. Someone said a break. Good, Patrick. What else do you need when you have challenging behavior as an adult human?
And for me, I when I recently got in a fight, I needed a hug. I needed some space and a hug. Communication strategies, someone to listen, time alone. Matt says to be heard, to be listened to, someone to process, some quiet. Yes.
These are beautiful.
These are wonderful.
How come nobody so far has put sticker chart in the chat?
Detention.
Why did nobody say that? Sticker chart, detention. Just answer that question in the chat. Why did nobody say sticker chart?
Not motivating for you? Almost had to spit it out. Yes, Angela. We forget about how we treat our students, for sure.
So I've done this, I don't know, Kate and I have done this maybe 300 times around the world. And people, like, imagine 1,000 people in a room. That's what we usually do, big presentations. And I've yet to someone to say, you know what would help me? Just a really nice, tight sticker chart every 15 minutes giving me some reinforcement. And yet, it's our number one go-to move with children in schools, is to punish or reward to fix behavior. And no human ever says, don't give my wife any ideas. I love this
Right?
already. All the ideas that you put above that, and I'm going to review them with you. This is what you could write down for the very best behavior plan on earth. A break to actually listen, to support with communication strategies, to allow time alone, to really hear a student, to process with a student. So process with, not process to, right? And someone else said quiet. Already you come up with what I would say is the very best behavior plan on earth. Kate even said a hug, love, connection. There are 4 things that humans require, and they are the 4 S's. And if you change your job and think about this is your really only job, to help humans feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure. That's our job. And even outrageous behaviors that we're kind of like, I've never even considered stripping as a behavior when I'm upset because it doesn't make sense to me. What we know to be true is it just means that human being's lid is flipped. And we're going to talk a lot about that. And our job, educators' job, parents' job, humans' job that's providing support is to help the human feel seen, safe, soothed, and secure. Okay? And it's also to throw away all the sticker charts and all the public behavior charts. Just go ahead and just, because here's why. Public behavior charts or sticker charts are the least effective ways of managing behavior, and it's our number one go-to in schools. And Kate and I do this whole thing around behavior charts that it's pretty intense. But when we teach college classes, we'll put up a behavior chart and we'll have our college students move their card, right, from green to red to yellow, green to yellow to red. And there's a consequence at red. And we've been known to make grown human beings cry.
Walk out the room, shake.
Yeah, because of how we're doing any sort of public behavior chart. And yet we expect 6-year-olds and teenagers and high school kids to be okay with that kind of treatment. So, right. Public behavior charts, no go. We can talk a lot more about that, and there's a lot in the book about it. Mm-hmm. All behavior is a message to be decoded, and all negative behavior is on the continuum of human behavior. Okay.
And remembering too that even at the high school and middle school level, if you're not using behavior charts, often we publicly discipline our students at those levels, whether it is yelling at them to leave, asking them to leave, writing names on boards. And so all of these align with that concept of public discipline, which we want to avoid at all costs, because as we mentioned, that's not what you said you needed when you were at your moment of crisis.
And I want you to think about this and answer this question. I just picked Andrea's name because I saw it, okay? Don't know Andrea, but let's imagine that Kate and I said right now, Andrea, we're over your behavior right now. I'm done with it. In fact, I want you to leave this Zoom meeting. I'm not okay with your behavior. Go think about it, go. How long do you think Andrea would remember the day she got kicked out of a training? How long do you think that memory would stick with her? Just put a guess in the chat. Or if it was you that got kicked out, how long do you think you'd remember being removed from? Yeah.
Years, yes.
That's right. And yet we have no problem deciding that that is our move with children. And it creates a distrust and mistrust and actual trauma for kids that is unlikely to ever be undone. Today, we're going to talk, because we only have a half hour, we're going to talk about only a couple of these points. So if you're thinking, how are you going to get to all this? We're not. We're going to talk about a couple of these points. Number 1, what's happening in the brain. Number 4, how we can hold for students. And number 6, how we can problem solve together. In the book, all of this is unpacked to great detail and really, really useful. Why I love writing with Kate is she takes every idea and makes sure that it's useful to take the ideas right away and use with students. And so you're going to see that in the book itself. All right, Kate, do you want to just kick off this question and then I'll jump in?
So we were talking about these 3 points today. And so what we want to first understand is what's happening in the brain, because as we mentioned, behavior is just communication. And so if we're charged with learning what that student is communicating with these different behaviors, it's really important for us to understand what's happening neurologically, because these are not rational, thought through behaviors that students are performing essentially. So Julie, do we want to talk about flip the lid?
Yeah. So I'm going to use my hand as a way to demonstrate. And if you're willing, do the same. And you're also welcome, if you can, I don't know if you can or not, to unmute your screen, like so we can see your faces. Is that a thing that can happen? And if not, that's okay too. So take your hand and no, sorry. Okay.
No worries, Leslie.
And then stick your thumb in and then put your fingers over the top and turn to the side. Okay. So I'll do it again. Thumb in, fingers over, turn to the side. Oh, there's my camera. This is roughly the shape of the human brain, okay? So this is roughly the shape of the human brain. In the front of the brain is all the good things you want your students to do. Empathy, memory, cognition, kindness, love, compassion, all that stuff is in the prefrontal cortex of the brain. Now, what happens is sometimes a student, their lid flips. Now lids flip for a million reasons. Do a quick scan of your body. Is there anything that's too tight, too cold, too hot, chapped lips, runny nose? Is there anything going on for you physically that's annoying, but you didn't even think about it? My current issue is called, I'm wearing yoga pants, but they're still a little snug around the waist. I'm not going to say why that might be. I'm just telling you there's a little snugness that I'm not into. Anybody else want to share anything going on in your body that feels off physically?
I have that shoulder tension that I didn't realize that I had until I just thought about it. Could be from computer, could be from holding a 5-month-old baby, could be from stress.
Yeah. Anybody else want to do a body scan and share? Thirsty, Marcy. Yes.
So cold.
Oh, yes. You're cold.
Thirsty.
Okay. Little things like these and big things like capital T trauma cause our lid to flip. What that means is we can no longer access our prefrontal cortex and the really good thinking, and we slide down into our brainstem. And in the brainstem, we have these options: fight, flight, freeze, or faint. Fight, flight, freeze, or faint. When I go back in the chat and look at the challenging behaviors that you talked about, all of them fall into those categories. This is not a conscious decision, like Kate said. It's not like you go, I'm deciding that I'm going to fight with someone, right? You lose your mind, you move out of your prefrontal cortex and down here into the brainstem. This is called the limbic break. and it stops you from going down into the brainstem. Our job is to help people feel seen, safe, soothed, and secure by helping to put the limbic brake on and helping a kid's lid get back on, and then we can get back to the challenge of learning. Mm-hmm. It is why when a kid has a big emotion, and so I want you to change behavior to a big emotion. When a kid has a big emotion and they come down here, our job is to get that lid back on so we can get back to learning. It is also why when in a big emotion, we don't teach, correct, or anything. All we do is soothe and support. It's all we do during big emotions because they can't yet learn or listen. They're still here, okay? What's the last time, what's happened in your life, the last time your lid flipped? It means like you were not functioning the right way. What's the last thing that happened that flipped your lid? I'm going to use this one, and you could, just to give an example, when my dog is barking and I'm presenting and I can't do anything about it, I lose my ability to say words.
Mm-hmm. Julie, while folks are putting some of their own reasons to flip, I also want us to think about the fact that that prefrontal cortex for adults is fully developed. And in our students, K through 12, it's still developing. And particularly at that adolescent level, they are all over the map with what type of skills that they are able to pull out of that prefrontal cortex. And so not only do we want to see those 4 S's, seen, secure, soothe, and safe, we also want to be teaching those skills when they are not in crisis or when their lids are not flipped. So it is this nice tandem work for the brain.
That's right. We have a triune brain, and it's not developed fully until you're 25 years old.
And
that's in the best of circumstances.
Right, I was going to say, and that is in the best of circumstances without dealing with stress and trauma that so many of our students are coming to school with.
Great. So Shirley goes, I was asked to go do lunges in the rain at the gym. Oh. So Shirley, I want you to categorize your behavior in fight. So you just like, you know what they can do? F right off. Even if it was in your head. Fight, flight, meaning like, I'm done, I'm gonna go home here. Or freeze, and freeze is interesting. It means I'm just sort of not available. And faint is one step worse, where you're just like offline. You're just like out of it. So just think about your behavior. Oh, you said that?
She was like, no way. No way.
Surely we'd get along great. I have no filter, so I get it. Okay. The next big question, and so we're skipping so much content, which is really hard to do a talk on the book in a half hour, but the next big question is how we can hold for our students. All I want everybody to do is play with us. Imagine right this second, Kate said to you all, we're going right now, stop what you're doing, we're going on this roller coaster right now, okay? So this is the actual roller coaster, we're headed there. What are your thoughts? Put them in the chat, and then I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so you can see us bigger. So here we go.
I was going to say, so now that we're getting to the roller coaster.
Yeah, we're on the roller coaster. No choice. You have to do it. Okay, Angela's like, I'm in. Does everyone feel like?
All right. Oh, good. You're excited? Oh, Sarah's like, no, we're not doing this. Okay. But what we want you to do now is think about, what do you do first? You're in, you're ready. What do you do first before the roller coaster takes off?
So the safety bar comes down. What's the first move you do with the safety bar?
Pray. Okay. Alyssa says you all have a good time. She's staying on the side.
Check it, Julie. Go to the bathroom.
Make sure it's locked. Make sure the safety bar is secure.
Okay. We're going to use that idea. Make sure the safety bar is secure. Lots of people said they'd shake it, check it, whatever. And they're going to check the bar because they're going to make sure it's going to hold for them. Now I'm going to take the analogy and move it to behavior. We've got kids in our school systems who have really challenging behavior, and it's because they've lived roller coaster lives. They've had things that have happened that have been so significant in drop and so significant in climb that they're terrified, okay? So they're going to double check as soon as they get in to school that the bar will hold for them. Who is the bar in this scenario? Who is the bar in this scenario? Just looking at the chat for you to answer that. Yeah.
Sure.
Educators, we are. I am. You are. We are the bar. And kids are going to test it in the morning. And again, 5 minutes later. And then 10 minutes later. And then all day long. And they are testing the bar, not because they hate you. It's not that you hate the bar. It's because they want to make sure you can hold for them all day long and that you're not ever going to fly up. Never. And so one of the hardest jobs and the most important jobs is to be incredibly consistent with kids, always loving, always kind, always consistent. The next and last, sorry.
Oh yeah, I just want to say too that when we're always consistent and we're always, we have these fully developed prefrontal cortexes, and so we can always be without our lids flipped, but that's wrong. So what we want to do too is if we ever flip, making sure that we always come back to them and apologize and say, this is not what we wanted to do. And that can be a really hard thing to do as an educator, but it's something that's so critical for making sure that that student is still seen, soothed, safe and secure. So they know we're still holding for them, even if we said, oh, Jeremiah, please stop talking right now. Later, I didn't mean to go off on you in the middle of class, and I feel really terribly about it. These are some things that we also want to keep in mind.
That's right. Your lid will flip, but the more you can keep it on and the more you can soothe yourself. We've got a whole section on keeping your lid on. That's a whole nother piece of it all. And then how we problem solve together is a big part of this book.
Right. And so this is our last point that we'll be able to make with you today, which isn't it amazing how fast a half an hour goes? But thinking about how we problem solve together is really such the crux of our work around belonging, because if you think about what it is that you need, you know the best. And so do our students. So making sure that when we talk about problem solving together, it's not that we as educators are problem solving with the student in the center, it's that that student is part of the conversation. And we are sitting down together to talk and communicate in whichever way that student communicates, to talk about their strengths, figure out what their talents are, their interests, then discover those challenges. What's really helping them to stay grounded, and then what's making them flip their lid. And some students need a little more support, right? They'll need their friends there. They'll need you to talk more and give them lots of options and ideas. And then the step 3 and 4 is so different, we think, than what typically happens when it comes to discipline and behavior plans. We want to create a success plan. And that means that the most of this work is about dreaming with that student about what it is that's going to increase their belonging. How are they going to feel seen? How are they going to be safe? How are they going to feel secure? And this includes thinking about what are the academic pieces? What are the behavioral pieces? What are the connections to peers, connections to you? So, thinking about you as the teacher, and Julie, you said we never problem solve without the student. I mean, this is so critical, no matter if they are kindergartner or 12th grader. They are never too young to work with you to problem solve. So this student right here, Rosie, just as an example, when you're problem solving with the student, you want to sit down, and what she said was, I'm bilingual, I'm new to the school. And what we knew were her challenges were that she has a reading disability, that she reads 2 grade levels below, and that in classes where there was a lot of reading going on, whether it was out loud or independent, she was flipping her lid. And so what we thought about, all right, well, how do we address these challenges with her strengths? She's bilingual, she loves music, she is a wonderful peer, she connects really well with other students. And so when we were dreaming and designing with Rosie and her peers and all the educators that care about her across her day to figure out where she's shining, we figured out to make sure that academic text was accessible for her. We figured out how to support her by grouping her with peers who have in thinking about a heterogeneous grouping that have higher reading level to help her and support her, and making sure that always she has access to her accommodations so that she doesn't feel what are you thinking that she might feel if she's sitting in class reading 2 grade levels below, being bilingual and being new. What are some of the things that she's feeling when she is in class without her supports? What is she feeling? And Julie says alone and incompetent. Huge. Embarrassed, frustrated, stressed, doesn't feel as smart as her peers. Yes, absolutely. So thinking about all of these, we know that this is prime for what? Flipping her lid, having those verbal outbursts. She would leave the room. She would yell and curse. The F word was her favorite, left behind, and all of these things. What do we want to be doing? We want to make sure she's seen, secure, soothed, and safe. And so these feelings don't leave her in that way. So making sure that we create that success plan with her is so, so, so critical, and that we're not doing it to her and creating those supports for her. So to sort of wrap up our conversation today, thinking about making sure we hit these key ideas, always including our students as collaborators in this process, because they know what it is that they need. And we are there to help support them to get there. Embracing all student behavior. It's normal, it's a continuum, we all have it, and it's all communication. Recognizing that the problem is never, ever, 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 ever the student. The problem lies outside. Is it environmental? Is it the landscape? Is it our own response? Are we not staying calm? Are we not keeping our lid on? And then making sure that solutions, they are not about compliance. They are not about getting a student to sit quietly and do the same thing as all of her other peers. It is about increasing that student's sense of acceptance in the classroom, of belonging, and making sure that she feels connected to you, she feels connected to peers, and she feels competent and able to succeed. This is what a behavior plan should be. And so that's why we call it a success plan.
Okay, our very last thing for today is we just want to share with you, the educators that we work with have made some manifestos, and Kate and I will just read every other one. A manifesto being something that's up publicly so everyone understands what the plan is. I want you to know that when you enter this classroom, you are loved.
Here we will treat each other with love and respect.
Every single person in here is whole and not broken.
We are here together to help each other shine.
We will not do things perfectly, and that is perfect.
Because imperfection allows us to learn.
I will show up for you each day.
We will show up for one another.
We will be courageous together.
We will be joyful together.
We will have many feelings in here together, and we will learn how to feel them and support one another.
No matter what, you belong here, every day and in every way.
So we just want to thank you for your time today, and we wish you the best on your journey. I know there's going to be a giveaway for the book. I know that's happening, so if you don't have the book, and if you want to know more about what we're up to, go to inclusiveschooling.com, all one word, inclusiveschooling.com, and you can always email us there, and we're happy to provide you with more supports.
Thank you, Julie. Oh, go ahead.
All I was going to say is in the very end, if you don't mind, we call it in a word. So put one word that comes to mind about our time together in the chat, and that's like your exit ticket. But I don't know if you should exit yet because there's more information.
That's
Yeah, you can go ahead and add your one word into the chat. And while you are doing that, I will go ahead and announce the big winner today of the book From Behaving to Belonging. And it is Nick Flowers. So Nick, if you could email me, and I'll put that in the chat. Send me your mailing address via email and we will get you the book. So Julie and Kate, thank you so much. And it looks like we have lots of good words in the chat so far. And yay, Nick's too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Enjoy your day.
We wish you the best and send you lots of love to work with all of your students and each other.
And Julie, you asked if this is being recorded. Yes, once we get it edited, it will be posted on our website and we can send out the link as well.
Okay, sounds great.
Thanks.
All right, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Thanks, Kate. Have a great day.
Yeah,
We
you too.
appreciate it.
Take care, bye-bye.
Bye.